So I read quite a lot of backlist titles in 2019 because there were so many books coming out at periods when I was in a reading slump and I was in a depressive episode and I was not reading. So it's just me playing catch up on all these amazing books and series that people had already read way before me, and I was late to the game. But I have no apologies from it because it just meant that my 2019 was lit reading wise. We'll start with my number one favorite, absolute favorite backlist title that I read in 2019, and that is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I am certain you all, like, if you spent any amount of time on BookTube, you would have heard about this book. Like, everybody and their mother has talked about this book. I love the complexity that is Evelyn Hugo. I love her tenacity, I love her willingness, I love her drive, I love the fact that she's able to manipulate to get to where she wants, because at the time period where she was born, at the time period when she lived, women did not have that opportunity. Women were not in control of their lives, and even though for a short period of time she lost sight of that, and for a short period of time she did let her husband, she did let the man she loved, the man she married, like, control her. Eventually she went back to being the Evelyn Hugo I knew and loved, and I appreciated seeing just, it made her even more real, seeing the fact that she there were certain pitfalls and traps that she was not able to avoid, even as this amazing, brilliant, fantastic, manipulative mind strategist. It just goes to show that we're all inherently human, and no matter how brilliant you think you are, you can also get caught in these situations. But like I said, I love this. I love the representation. The bisexuality rep of Evelyn Hugo was just chef's kiss perfection. I love the fact that Taylor Jenkins Reid used this book to also show how Hollywood has you abandoning part of yourselves that they do not think is palatable. Like, Evelyn Hugo is Cuban, nobody knew, and it got to a point that she even started forgetting the language, started forgetting the food, started forgetting this part of home, because Hollywood has remade her to be this American golden girl at large seductress, and she kind of lost sight of who she was outside of that. And like I said, I loved the writing, I loved the way the story was told, I loved the characterization, I loved the plot, I loved every bit of this book, and it's the reason why it's my number one favorite backlist title of the year. Like, my I'm still shook at, I can't wait to reread this. I can't wait to reread this. And Evelyn Hugo calling out the biphobia of the woman she was in love with, like, I love this. I really did love this. Still do. Can't wait to reread it again and cry again, because yeah, this book had me bawling like a baby. No excuses, no apologies. I am totally and completely fine with that. It evokes such strong emotions in me. Another favorite backlist title I read this year, yeah, Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. If you're not a Sarah J Maas fan, you probably were like, seriously, Noria? If you were a big Tamlin fan, you'd be like, seriously, Noria? See, I read this series not because of the love interest. I read the series for Farah. Farah is the same reason why I love the Throne of Glass series, even though none of the Throne of Glass books made it here, because yeah, what can I say? I'm sorry. Oops. I read a lot of. If I was doing 20 absolute favorite backlist titles, I can do 30, because like I said, I read a lot of amazing backlist titles this year. But see, the person who I'm rooting for, the person whose story I'm following, is Farah, and I love the fact that coming from who she was in Akotar to who she is in Akumath, like, she's legitimately dealing with PTSD. She's legitimately dealing with with her fears. She's lost all self-esteem, which she never even had much to begin with from where she's coming from. And I know people go like, oh my god, but Sarah J Maas kind of like made Tamlin into an unbelievable character. But if you watch, because I did do a video where I went into a somewhat hour-long review of the entire books, of my thoughts about the entire series, I did mention that from the very start I could see the seeds of abuse in Tamlin. There were instances where he was aggressive, where he was losing his temper, where he could not control it. That period, for example, the festival, like, there were instances, if you could see, there were traits in it. But at the same time as well, I also think that those traits were not as obvious because of the fact that Akomav takes place after they had both undergone abuse, after they had both finally come, because there's a way in which you act when you're under a strenuous when you're undergoing trauma, and how you act after, you're after the trauma, when you're trying to move forward beyond that. And like I said, this in this entire series, the one person I rooted for was Farah, and the character development she underwent in this book was what made this book an absolute favorite for me. Like, this is my favorite in the series. This is definitely a book in the series that I will come back and reread over and over and over and over and over again. I am totally a big fan of abused women finding their own power and their own agency. And say what you will about how, yes, there is some toxic behavior in the series. Yes, Sarah J. Maas cannot just let go of the word mate. I don't think she's as bad as Christine Feehan, because if you've read the Carpathian series, oh my god, now that is a lot of meat. Yeah, because they're like 30 something books, and trust me, every damn book has the word mate in it multiple times. Yeah, so like I said, Sarah J. Maas uses mate a lot, but the person I'm rooting for is Farah, and she underwent a transformation that I approved of and I supported and I loved every bit of the way. So, A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Another favorite backlist title I read this year, Illuminate, by J. Christoph and Amy Kaufman. See, this is the first book in the Illuminate files, and even though Lord knows I love Gemini and I loved Obsidio, but Illuminate was the start for me. It was the first time of me finding out the story, discovering these characters, and as the first book in the series, and also the most terrifying, because god damn, I don't want to say, because if I say, then that is a big spoiler, because you don't discover exactly who the real villains and what is actually happening in the story until like further in the story. But I love the twist, I love the turns, I love the villainous bent, I love the fact that I was fucking terrified. Seeing Aiden, oh my god, before the end of the book. I love this. If you followed me on Twitter, by the way, if you're not following me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. I'm at Nora the Reader. But if you follow me on Twitter, and when I was reading this book, I was tweeting my thoughts because I was shook. Every moment of this, I binged this in a day. I couldn't put down this book. I did not leave my house. I didn't eat. I don't even think I got out of bed. I just sat in my bed and I read this book, and my eyes were wide open. I was so terrified and so engrossed, and just, oh god, the magic, the characters, the plot, the twist, the suspense, the villains, the AI, Aiden, like there were so many. This book was just checking. It was like check, check, check. Every part of it was a hit. Wow, like the combo of Amy Kaufman and J. Christoph. I love this book. Oh my god, I love this book. I can't wait to reread it. I can't wait to listen to it on audio, because I heard that the full cast is just, it makes it even better. And like, this is a series I will come back to and reread over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it all began with the perfection that is Illuminate. Because even though the villains in Gemini were scary and were also scary, and like the twist in Obsidian was also amazing, like I still don't think that they captured the height of emotions that I felt while reading Illuminate. Like, this absolute favorite. Loved it. Loved every moment of reading this book. Loved it. And then there's God's Grave. Yes. See, I was a bit torn because I also really loved Nevernight, and this is the second book in the Nevernight Chronicles. But see, I think God's Grave perfectly captures the height of suspense, the most development of Mia Cover, seeing her actually trained to be a gladiator, and then seeing the way our relationship with Ashlyn evolved, and also like it's gay. Like, this book was so gay. Like, after my own heart level of gay, I loved every moment of it. So yeah, definitely God's Grave by J. Christoph. I loved it more than Nevernight, and I think that even though Dark Dawn was amazing, I think Dark Dawn did not rip my heart to shreds the way God's Grave did. And Dark Dawn did not have me biting down my knuckles in fear. Like, yes, there was one or two scenes in Dark Dawn, but most of God's Grave I was just like, whoa. Like, I legitimately, my eyes were wide open, and I was just like, whoaing, oh my god, I can't, oh my god, did that happen, oh my god. Like, that was legitimately my reactions to practically every twist and turn and suspense in this book. And for people that go, oh, Nevernight started so slow, I think God's Grave just picked up, and the speed, the way in which J. Christoph told this book, like, a lot of books suffer from middle book syndrome, but I think that God's Grave is the best book in the entire Nevernight Chronicles. And the Nevernight Chronicles is a fantastic series, but God's Grave, it's magnificent, absolutely magnificent. So yeah, because I was like, oh, should I pick Nevernight or God's Grave? Because I didn't want to pick both books because there's so many amazing backlist titles, and I didn't want to pick two books in a series when I could just pick the best one and just talk about that. So yeah, God's Grave for me. I just I love this book. I love this book so much. And then there's The Kiss Quotient by Ellen Wong. What can I say? I love this book. Oh god, it's romance. It's one of my absolute favorite romances that I read this year. And when I read it, I understood the reason why a lot of people were all over this book last year and really loved it. I loved the way in which Ellen was telling the story. I loved seeing Stella and Michael fall in love. I loved the representation of what it is to live on the spectrum and the way in which Ellen treated it with respect and so much so real. Like, and then when you read our author's notes and you understand why this book felt authentic, like see, that's the reason why we push for own voice novels, because there's just something about reading about an authentic experience, which that it's always very hard for people who I've never lived those lives or experienced those things to be able to fully speak on it. Like, some people can pull off amazing research and do it, but like I would always have a soft spot in my heart for own voices novels, because I repeat, The Kiss Quotient, so good, so good. Loved it. And oh my god, the sex in this was just A+ quality, smoking hot, everything, like checking so many boxes. Loved it. Ooh, steamy, the steam. Loved it. And then there's The Poetess by Elizabeth Acevedo. Oh god, this book, Xiomara, reading Xiomara's story, being in Xiomara's mind, seeing her life experiences and seeing her become this amazing woman just fills me with so much joy and gladness. And this entire book is just poetry and a love. You could see the love of words. I want to listen to this on audio. Like, my reread has to be on audio, because I heard that, I think it was Ibizo Boy that read it on audio, and I heard that the performance is fantastic. But I also want to see Elizabeth Azevedo do a live reading from the book as well. I'll search on YouTube. I want to see it, because this entire book is written in verse, and I have never felt so much emotions and cried so much, and like felt what it is to be that young, that age, want that freedom, want to make your mother happy, but also want to pursue your dreams, and also have a boy you like, and also trying to feel free of the shackles of religion that has been caging you in. Like, there were so many layers to this book, so many reasons why I love it. This is a book that is as beautiful on the inside as it is on the outside. As you can see, this cover is stunning, but it does not, it's just as stunning. The words inside are just as beautiful, just as stunning, just as amazing. I'm in awe. I love this book. I love this book so much. Wow. Poetess. Stunning, utter perfection. If you love spoken verse, if you love poetry, you would love this book, because this book is just my heart. Xiomara, my heart. Like, love it. And then I read Cersei, which see, I love Greek mythology. I love mythology. I love a lot of mythology, but I have a big fondness for Greek mythology, and I have a big fondness for Cersei ever since I read the Odyssey, and she first stumbled upon the pages in Odyssey, and we could see that she was turning men into animals, and she had this affair with Odysseus before he left and returned home to Ithaca. I found her story engaging, but I wanted to know more. And in this, legitimately, Madeline Miller told us the story of this witch who was born into a family where she was scorned and mocked because she seemingly didn't have powers, and then seeing her slowly develop her powers, and seeing her powers be so different from her siblings because she is so different from her siblings, and seeing her grow old and age and become more wise and grow into her own was just beautiful. A lot of people believe that nothing really happened in Cersei because the story is more character driven than plot driven, but I do love character driven stories, especially when they are done well, and Madeline Miller does them so well. And this is just like, it had all, like, Greek mythology, check. It's a Cersei story, check. It's character driven Cersei story, check. Like, so many things. And if you've read Cersei's story, you know that not much happens to her, but being able to understand who she is, who she was, where she came from, like how she became who she became, and even the years after, I loved it. I really did love love it. And now I'm sincerely hoping that Malin Miller keeps writing about more of these characters. Like, I definitely want to read about Hecate's story. I definitely want to read Arachne's story. I definitely want to read Medusa's story. Like, I hope she continues writing about Greek mythological figures because she does them so well. And yes, Song of Achilles, I'm definitely going to be reading next year because I can't wait. And now that you're caught to me, I probably should have put that in my standalone to read in 2020. But like, I'm going to read that. Definitely enjoyed Cersei, loved Cersei, one of the favorite backlist titles I read this year. And then I read What It Means When a Man Falls from the Sky by Leslie Neka Orima. This is a collection of short stories by the same author, yes, but cutting across different genre, cutting across different stories, but the theme is consistently the same. Being aware of what part of ourselves we give, you know, to others, being aware of how society consistently seeks to take and take and take from us. Not just society, but also those around us. Like, I loved this book. I felt so much emotions, rage and pain and sadness and horror and joy, but mostly pain. This book was filled with so much raw emotion, and across multiple genres like fantasy and contemporary and mythology and sci-fi, you know, and a bit of horror. Like, it was just a mix, a mashup of so many things that I loved, and I enjoyed it. Like, I have a thing for short stories. Sometimes they work so well, but when you find a short story writer that is able to capture perfection in a couple of pages, something that other authors would take 300 pages to do, like, you know that it takes skill, because it's easier to tell a longer story and flesh out full characters, but it's so much more difficult to do that in just a few short pages. And Leslie Karima does this with this book so well. I am in awe and I am in love, and I loved every moment of it. So yeah, definitely What It Means When a Man Falls from the Sky. And then the final backlist title I read this year that I love, my absolute favorite, was Vicious by LJ Shen. Yes, I know, the same LJ Shen that wrote In the Unlikely Event, which was one of my most disappointing reads of the year. But this was a backlist title. I love Vicious. I'm not going to lie, the relationship in this could be very dysfunctional, very toxic. Vicious belongs in a category of romance I call redeemable douchebags, absolute assholes, love interest, broken character category of romance books. And if you don't like bully romance, you might not like it, but like, I don't know what it is about it, but Vicious is such an enigmatic character, and seeing his relationship with Emilia develop and unfold, like, was just so mind-blowing. They were so good and so messy, and so they fit so well, and of course the sex was fantastic. But like, I love Vicious. I love the layers to his character. I love how intriguing he is. Would I date him in real life? Hell no. I would run as far away from him as possible if I ever met someone like that in real life. But in the pages of a book, I just could not look away. It was so enigmatic. I loved following his story. I loved seeing him realize that he loved Emilia all along, that all that emotions he felt, that intensity of emotion, because he feels so intensely, and that intensity of emotion I felt that he attributed to rage and disgust was actually love. And when he realized that, and the groveling he had to do to get Emilia back, like, I love that book. I love that book so much. Like, oh, so much. Definitely one of the favorite books I read this year. Like I said, it's dysfunctional, but hey, sometimes, you know, I do read the occasional dysfunctional book. I just do not deceive myself into thinking that it's not dysfunctional. So yeah, I do recognize that, but it was such a good book. Like, such an amazing book. Definitely my favorite LG Shen book. She has not topped that book since. You know, I'm still keeping my fingers crossed that she does, because I'm still reading her books to see if she does, but so far, nope. But Vicious, though, Baron Vicious Spencer, definitely in a class of his own. So yeah, those are my 11th absolute favorite backlist titles that I read this year. Let me know what some of the favorite backlist stories that were not released this year that you read this year. Let me know what some of those favorites are. Drop them down in the comments down below. If you like this video, please do not forget to give it a big thumbs up. Check out my other videos. Subscribe if you want to. I make new videos every Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I'll see you soon. Until then, stay passionate, love books, love yourself. Bye.